Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Senator, Pagoda, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 124th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a New World cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We smoke our first Candela and explore the production process needed to produce a green wrapper. We preview our upcoming trip to the PCA Convention and Trade Show in Las Vegas, and we debut a brand new interactive listener segment, all among a variety of other things for the next 90 minutes. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Jameson Irish Whiskey with the Padilla Candela in Robusto. A Nicaraguan Robusto tonight from Padilla. It's called the Candela in Robusto. It's a 50 ring gauge cigar by 5 inches. And boys, happy, I guess, belated St. Patrick's Day at this point. But this is our first green cigar on the podcast tonight.
My first ever.
My first ever, too.
It is green.
It's definitely green.
This is going to be a wild ride.
It's kind of like Grinch green, though. It's like not like a...
Good for
like
you.
A pale.
It suits your your alter ego.
It's an interesting looking cigar. Nice little band on it with a lion's head from Padilla. But yes, I'm a little pessimistic coming into this, I'll be honest.
The wrapper looks like it's got a waxy finish. It's very it's glistening.
Well, it's food color on top, I would imagine.
Oh, who knows?
All right, boys, let's cut this thing. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper. Our first Candela tonight on the pod.
Wide open. Honestly, not a bad cold draw.
I'm getting like earth, almost like dirt,
Nah,
like in the garden,
it's a bit sweeter for
like
me.
soil.
I'm getting what Giz is. I get soil. I don't get anything sweet.
No.
I'm getting like a wet soil.
Honestly,
Pagoda's nervous over there. Look at him.
it's more potpourri for me than anything else. I'm not getting any dirt or petrichor.
The smell on the foot is interesting too. It kind of smells like musty.
Horse
It's
foot.
very herbal.
Yeah.
Horse hoof.
It's
that might be the most accurate of all of them. Here we go. All right, boys. Let's light this thing. The Padilla Candela in Robusto. Again, it's a 50 ring gauge cigar by 5 inches long. Made in Nicaragua at the AJ Fernandez factory, as all Padilla cigars are.
In honor of our Irish brothers and sisters around the world. What are you getting?
It's very different.
Well, you lit your cigar fast.
Yeah, mine's taking a long time to light.
Me too.
I'm up and running. It's a little different, and it makes me wonder with that conversation we've had so many times about where the flavor's coming from in the cigar, how much is actually coming from the wrapper. I wonder in this cigar, is there more coming, from the wrapper because of the difference in
Material.
It tastes better than it looks.
And
it's not that bad.
Right?
it tastes better than the cold draw too.
Initially, it's okay. And honestly, the retrohale's not that bad. Honest.
I agree with you, Bam. I actually
Yeah.
really like the retrohale on this. Very, very interesting cigar. What are you guys getting? Any
Hints
notes?
of grass and pistachio.
Grass and pistachio.
Your opinion is skewed because of the color. No oregano.
It's not bad.
No, not
It's
at
not
all.
bad at all. It's just different. I think that's what's throwing me off. I'm getting a little salty thing on the front of my tongue.
Yeah, but I can't pinpoint the note that I can call out right now.
You see Candela cigars sometimes in a shop. Certainly you see sometimes the barber pole cigars and sometimes they're
Yeah.
green as well. And I know there's brands that have done like special releases with the green wrapper, the Candela wrapper, but it's odd that it's never been something I've reached for, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone that I'm smoking with smoking a Candela cigar.
I've never seen it anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. No,
I
I've
think
seen
the
these
color, throws people off.
a bit. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks gimmicky, but it's a pretty smooth. The smoke is velvety. I can't complain about it, but it's pretty mild for me.
I do want to read a comment which I think kind of aptly describes it. It says, "Picture it, a green hue crafted by the alchemy of heat, capturing chlorophyll's essence in the barn's embrace."
Wow.
In the barn's embrace.
I think that's funny.
Horsehoof. There you go.
What kind of barn?
Correct.
This is interesting. It has a musty thing that I don't love about it. It's a mustiness in tobacco that I'm just unfamiliar with and almost a little uncomfortable with.
I'm just perplexed. It's mild. It's not offensive, but the flavor notes are so muted that it's just really hard to pick out. Like
You
there's
can't
this,
pinpoint the note.
No. There is like a grassy hay kind of like light barnyard
Barnyard.
note that you
I get that on the finish for me.
Correct, on the finish.
Yeah.
And I thought I was also getting it when I was smelling it a little bit, like in the beginning.
You mean you were taking in the aroma?
I don't know.
The aroma is pleasant.
It is.
It's mild.
I think the smell coming off the foot is nice. The smell coming off the head of the cigar,
It's an easygoing
Yes,
cigar,
very
Yeah.
mild.
right?
it's not offensive. It's just
No.
very different.
Right.
There's
How mu-
even
how-
a slight creaminess about the cigar.
Well, I said earlier, I thought the smoke was velvety. To me,
Yeah.
it feels that way.
How much are these?
$10.
Hmm.
And I ordered them direct from Padilla Cigars website.
Okay.
Is that comment direct from their website?
Yeah, direct from their website.
There are not many that you can. Well, Davidoff does that actually, but not.
Davidoff
not
does.
many.
I think this is one of the cigars. I couldn't find this at one of our normal retailers. I don't know if just a lot of retailers don't stock these because they're not in favor like they were
Mhm.
a long time ago, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, these were readily available on the site, so that's why I ordered them. I guess maybe they just don't stock these in most B&Ms.
The burn is nice and sharp.
Yeah.
Very consistent line.
We didn't talk that much about the wrapper. I mean, obviously the color,
Yeah.
and Bam, I know you mentioned the sheen on it,
Mhm.
but it's an extremely veiny wrapper. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
just mine or
No, no, no.
everybody's?
Oh no, definitely
100%.
very veiny.
Yeah.
It looks nice though, but it's certainly the flaws are not hidden. It's smooth though.
Mm.
So Padilla Cigars was founded by a man named Ernesto Padilla, who is of Cuban descent, and he came to the United States in the wake of the Cuban Revolution in the late 50s, early 60s. And when old enough, Ernesto took his passion and knowledge with him to create a brand that would honor his heritage and celebrate the art of cigar making. And as they say, Padilla Cigars has become synonymous with quality and excellence, earning a loyal following among connoisseurs and casual smokers alike. And I love this line from Ernest Hemingway: "A good cigar is as great a comfort to a man as a good cry is to a woman."
Wow.
Ernest Hemingway.
He's lucky he said that when he did. He'd be canceled if he said that now.
No,
That's
yeah,
true.
he would be, but I do
That's
like
true. So really, really interesting history here with Padilla, because his father, Roberto Padilla, was a prominent poet in Cuba who drew the ire of Fidel Castro and the Cuban government. So you might have heard of the Padilla Affair. It's a significant event in Cuban history around literature, politics, poetry, involving Ernesto's father, Roberto Padilla. The event occurred in 1971 and quickly became a turning point in the relationship between Cuban intellectuals and the government of Fidel Castro. Roberto Padilla was a prominent poet who initially supported the revolution. However, as the government increased its control over artistic expression and demanded that all cultural work align with revolutionary principles, which, by the way, still stands today, Padilla's work began to reflect his growing disillusionment with the regime. In 1968, he published a poetry collection called Fuera del Juego, Out of the Game, which won a prestigious literary prize in Cuba. However, the book was criticized by the government for its veiled criticism, as they say, of the regime's suppression of free speech and individual freedoms. In March 71, Roberto Padilla was arrested by Cuban authorities on charges of subversion and espionage.
Oh, we have some here who know a thing or two about that.
It's Bam Bam.
Espionage.
I'm going to say that correctly so the listeners don't think I'm an idiot. So he was arrested on charges of subversion and espionage. About a month later, after being detained and allegedly subjected to psychological pressure and torture, Padilla made a public confession at the Union of Cuban Writers and Artists, denouncing his own work and implicating fellow writers and intellectuals as counter-revolutionaries.
Unbelievable.
The Padilla Affair, as it was called, resulted in widespread condemnation from the international library and intellectual community, including many who had previously supported the Cuban Revolution. And a bunch of folks signed an open letter condemning his treatment and the Cuban government's repression of free speech. Obviously, who knows what kind of situation he was in that he was then forced by the government to renounce his own work. The affair marked a turning point, leading to increased censorship and marginalization of dissenting voices in Cuba, which still stands today, of course. It has also caused a significant rift between the Cuban government and the international community of artists and intellectuals. Pretty crazy story.
That's
that
intense.
The son of that man founded the brand of cigars that we're smoking here tonight.
That's an awesome story.
Amazing story.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
why I actually wrote that out. I did some
It's very
research
cool.
and whatnot. I wanted to make sure that we nailed it because
Yeah.
I think that that's a really powerful commentary on the state of Cuba in the late 60s, early 70s, and kind of still today.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dead fled and came here.
Yes.
I mean, that had to be a pretty easy asylum claim. This guy sounds like he was Cuba's most
yeah.
wanted at that point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, boldly speaking out.
Unreal.
Just terrible. And it really sheds a light on what happens in Cuba when you're a Cuban national with a dissenting voice. Obviously, the internet has changed a lot, certainly since cell phones, I think, were allowed in 2013 or 2008, whenever that happened in Cuba, where cell phones were allowed and access to the internet. But still, Cubans operate with VPNs. They operate under anonymity. We operate under anonymity so that we can share the true stories of what's going on there. So it's a really interesting commentary that now has been going on over 50 years, 60 years of this.
From the point of view of art and dissension, I was surprised to see the amount of graffiti in downtown Havana. Usually that's a sign of, youth rebelling and leaving their mark. Subversive notes that only they and their group understand, type of a thing.
Yeah, but the graffiti
It was
kinda,
shocking
for
me.
It was more artistic though.
It was beautiful. A lot of it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know someone that's putting a book together, right?
Yep.
But I was just surprised to see the amount of graffiti in Cuba.
Yeah,
I think it goes to show that it's got to be a bit more lenient now.
I think so, but I also think that there's just way more people who are willing to speak up than were certainly 50 years ago, before the advent of the internet and open information. And I mean, think about it, until really 2008, 2010, that kind of time, Cubans didn't really know what the outside world was like because it was really fenced off, aside from if they talked to family members, but it was fenced off from the rest of the world. Obviously today it still kind of is in some ways, but the free flow of information has changed dramatically. And I think, look at how many times we've talked to a cab driver or someone on the street or someone that we meet about what's really going on in Cuba. And it's very much in line with what we just heard about Padilla's father.
That's true.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems in Cuba is the youth leaving Cuba.
Oh, yeah. Brain drain, right?
Yeah.
They're leaving.
Yeah, that can't be good.
Doctors and lawyers serving tables.
Yeah. Driving taxis.
Yeah.
So, boys, what do you think of the cigar?
Dude.
I was talking for a little bit
Just
there.
catch the aroma on the foot. It's really very good. It is.
It's really nice.
It's improving in flavor for me. It's almost getting to the point where I'm just getting very slight fruit. I can't pinpoint what it is, but it's not bad.
So for me, as this is heated up,
Yeah.
it's gotten much better.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, bright white ash, razor sharp burn, the flavor notes, while still not overly distinct to call out, it's like they've come together in a more harmonious way where I don't know, before I just felt like,
You know what I'm getting?
I was fighting it, trying to figure out what it was and if I liked it. And now I'm sitting here saying it's pleasant.
It is. For me, it's almost like a bowl of sweet oatmeal. It's that oat type of thing that's very, I love that plain flavor of oats with a little bit of honey or something sweet on it. That's kind of what this is for me.
There is definitely
Very
something
slight.
sweet
It's
out of this. There's
very
some sweet
faint.
note, maybe like a little nutty.
But I think Senator hit it on the head. As this is increasing in heat, that's really drawing out that flavor for me.
Yeah,
It's there.
I think it's creamy and a little bit of like a nuttiness also is coming through.
This is crazy that we're talking about this cigar.
Oh, I know. I mean,
know.
even your oatmeal comparison, I don't disagree with it at all.
It's
Like
weird.
I can see like oats.
Yep.
I can see the nuttiness Rooster's talking about. There's definitely that like cream and kind of, milk that might be in oatmeal. I mean,
This
it's
is
crazy.
this is a weird flavor note. I'm kind of getting, when you're making s'mores on the fire
Mm-hmm.
and you take the marshmallow
And the
you
graham
toast
cracker.
it, just the marshmallow,
Oh, okay.
but it's like kind of burnt.
Oh, so you're talking about the skin on the marshmallow.
Yes.
I can see that.
I'm kind of getting like a toasted
Toasted marshmallow.
marshmallow.
Yeah, and that goes back to the nuttiness that you were referring to earlier, guys. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about
It's
it,
surprising.
the wrapper is different than what we have had, but the binder and filler are,
Yeah.
it's Nicaraguan,
the aroma's nice, man.
but it's
It is.
really on the milder side to be a Nicaraguan. I mean, do we know the blend?
No, I do not know the blend of this.
I mean, I assume that it's a Nicaraguan blend.
It's a great
right?
question. I mean,
it's-
it'd be great to know what.
but it's surprising because it's kind of like on the milder side for
very
Nicaraguan
mild.
tobacco. It doesn't taste. It tastes more Honduran to me.
I agree. The funny thing
Mm.
is, if you were to tell me that this cigar has Nicaraguan tobacco in it, I would say no way, because it's the mildest Nicaraguan
It
cigar
doesn't
I've probably
taste.
ever
It
had.
tastes more Honduran. Honduran, tobacco has that little bit of sweetness to it.
Connoisseur
it's
Corner's
mild.
talking right now.
It's not wrong.
I'm enjoying it. I can't deny.
Great construction.
The ash is
The
beautiful.
construction's great. Yeah.
It's really quite nice. Razor sharp.
I mean, this would be nice in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
So-
oatmeal.
Oatmeal
And a
or
coffee.
or some green eggs and ham.
Yeah, green tea.
So let's talk about Candela, boys. Interesting story about the process that is done on these leaves. So first we start with, these used to be the most popular type of cigars sold in the United States of America. They were known as American Market Selection Smokes, and the Connecticut shade supplanted Candelas started in the early 1980s, and green cigars began to fade from popularity around that time. So JFK smoked them as well. This was
Wow.
one of JFK's favorites. What's cool about the leaf is that it's really not that different from other leaves. It's all about the process. So the common brown color that we are used to seeing on a normal cigar comes after harvesting and curing green tobacco, hung in a curing barn and allowed to slowly dry from a period of 30 to 45 days, as we know. And then it goes from green to brown throughout that process. When a manufacturer is looking to make Candela wrapper, the farmer has to accelerate the curing process to lock in the green color. So what happens is the barn is sealed, the heat is cranked up really, really high, going from 90 to 100 and all the way up to almost 200 degrees, locks in the chlorophyll, which makes the leaves stay green, and then apparently makes them as crispy as a potato chip. So careful rehydration then makes the leaf supple once again, ready for packing into bales. And instead of a month or more, Candela is ready in about 3 days.
Wow.
So farmers obviously love making this leaf because they can
Turn
turn it around
Sure.
real fast. So what's cool too is while it needs the heat to ferment in that way and lock in the color of the chlorophyll in the leaf, once it's done, it needs to be refrigerated.
Wow.
So I'm assuming that that's maybe a component to Cuban tobacco not having this, this
It's
wrapper leaf
probably
being
to
offered.
seal the chlorophyll. Maybe.
It's
So
everything's
maybe,
sealed in. Yeah,
It's quite
exactly.
the process.
So they're also known as double Claro, and like I said, American Market Selection, and yeah. So this has had quite a story, especially in the American market. People
Wow.
used to love smoking these.
I love it.
including President Kennedy.
I'm loving it right now.
I know.
It's kind of like when you're cooking something and you want to keep that green flavor of a green leafy vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
After you steam it,
You're blanching it quickly.
you're blanching it quickly in an ice bath.
Exactly.
So that kind of keeps that color.
and the crispness. It keeps it from continuing to cook because it'll
Right.
continue to cook if you
That's
don't
right.
blanch it right.
Very impressive.
Correct. Would you expect anything less?
No, nothing.
You know what's interesting too is that all of those cigars that I was talking about being popular in the American market, most of them were machine made. Only in the last 10 to 20 years were cigars with Candela wrappers handmade.
Wow.
Exactly. And many, many brands use them. Arturo Fuente has them, La Flor Dominicana, Camacho, Ilusión. Macanudo has one. There are a lot of Candela cigars available.
Cool.
But I guess I don't think they make that many of them because I don't ever see people smoking them.
Because they're weird.
They're definitely odd.
These could be really good starter cigars, I think.
Yeah. Good gateway drug into the hobby.
There's no Cuban Candela cigar.
Yeah, there has been.
Really?
When I was reading this, it says, Giz mentioned that JFK used to smoke these. Apparently, it was hard to tell, obviously, because a lot of the photos were black and white then, but they found that he had purchased a double Claro Suredix. How do you say this? Suerdicks. What brand is that?
Sure dicks.
For sure.
What brand is that?
Surdex.
Well,
Surdex, I would say.
He bought double Claro Surdex and a couple of green Partagas cigarillos from Havana.
Green Partagas.
Yeah.
Well, he used to smoke a lot of small ring gauge cigars.
Yeah.
Petite Coronas and smaller. Yeah.
And the half Upmans he loved.
Yep.
Wow.
The funny thing is, just reading in this article, it says that they all kind of tend to have the same mild flavor profile, which I'm just so surprised how the wrapper can have such a dramatic, almost universal effect that it seems like the binder and filler don't really matter all that much with this cigar. I mean, this says most Candelas are mild. They tend to have herbal, grassy, creamy, and even minty tasting notes, which is almost exactly what we're getting.
Exactly.
Herbal for sure, not mint, but this seems like an herbal botanical type of a cigar.
Yes. I wondered from a blending standpoint, once you include the Candela wrapper, if it kind of limits what you can do with the binder and filler. Like maybe there's flavor profile that doesn't kind of, mesh. Because I mean, think about some of these things that we're getting meshing with some of the other Nicaraguan cigars that we smoke.
Yeah.
Might not work too well. So maybe they're limited in the palette of what they can include when they're putting a Candela wrapper on.
Well, let's just hope that none of us get sick smoking this cigar. There's a funny E.P. Carrillo story. Apparently, when E.P. Carrillo was 18 years old, he lit his first Candela cigar when he was on a long drive. He said, quote, "I got into my Mustang and lit a Candela Panatella. I really wanted to get the aroma of the tobacco." He smoked the cigar, but about an hour later, he got sick. He said, quote, "It's not a regular smoke of mine."
Was he inhaling?
Or the windows closed.
was
Rooster's car.
I never thought I would be smoking a green cigar. And here we are because of this podcast.
And liking it.
Enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's shocking.
It's just so smooth and creamy and velvety. There's nothing bad you can say about this cigar.
Like if this kind of stays where it's at and improves, I would very much be comfortable and willing to smoke this again.
For $10? Yeah.
I'm really amazed by the construction. I mean, look at it's
crazy.
The construction,
perfect.
It's burning really well.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And the hash is really holding on.
It is.
Too.
Yeah.
Great combustion.
Yep.
So boys, let's move to our pairing tonight.
Thank you.
We're staying Irish, we're staying green, and we're drinking Jameson.
Correct.
A classic Irish whiskey.
Triple distilled.
I
happen to love the spirit.
You've been talking about this a lot over the last, 6 to 8 weeks.
And you've never had it.
I've never had it.
I have to have you take that sip and we'll talk.
I've never had Jameson.
You've never had Jameson
Not
in your
once.
life.
He's living in a closet.
Listen, you got to be hanging out in bars for that. So.
Oh, that's really nice.
Isn't it nice?
It's light.
Yeah.
Thin.
It's a perfect pairing with this very light, smooth cigar.
It's
But Senator's shocked.
It's embarrassing.
I am still processing.
Honestly,
it's embarrassing, right?
It's puzzling that you've never had this. I'm with him.
I mean, this is one of the top-selling spirits in the entire world.
It's ubiquitous.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
How could you never have had it in college, at a bar?
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
Never had Jameson.
I love this because it's affordable, it's well made, and I've had it neat and with ice. They're both delicious. When my kids drove me crazy when they were little on vacation, honey, I got to go do something. 2 shots of Jameson, you're right. After that, you're all right after that.
Well, even the Middle Eastern royalty loves us, so there you go.
Yeah, I happen to love this, so I'm happy we're doing it.
It's a nice spirit.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you gave the kid some Jameson.
I know. And then put them to bed.
There you go, a shot each.
When my son was teething, I did.
Oh yeah, you're supposed to rub it on the gums, right?
It worked.
Really?
It worked.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I'd be in jail for doing that.
Yeah, in India they do brandy typically.
Yeah.
So, Bam, how much was this Jameson?
I paid $32 for this thing.
That's a pretty good price.
It's a very good price.
You know, comparable to the other things that we drink on this podcast. It's certainly on the lower end price-wise.
You buy that bottle and you keep it in your locker, it's always going to satisfy you. It's really quite a good spirit to have.
Yeah.
On hand at any time.
Not having known anything about the cigar coming in tonight, or even Candela, as we just learned a lot about that, it's really nice and light and pairs perfectly with a mild medium cigar like this.
Yeah. Now, if you have this neat, of course, it's richer. It's really quite good. It's got a honey finish, fruit forward for me. Really very good.
This cigar is kind of smoking fast.
Is it?
Well, the
It's
draw's
kind of
wide
burning
open.
fast, no?
Yeah.
I'm just coming into the second third.
Sorry, something that just surprises me with Jameson. So their whiskey is matured in bourbon and sherry casks.
But not for long, right? I'd imagine.
No, it's so actually there are specific requirements to be an Irish whiskey, and I actually got a kick out of reading this because one of them I think is outrageous. But
does an Irishman put his foot in it?
No, it's the proof requirements I couldn't believe. So the Irish Whiskey Act of 1980 set the requirements for anything that can call itself an Irish whiskey. It needs to make the whiskey with malted barley. It has to be distilled nothing less than 40% alcohol by volume and not more than 94.8% alcohol by volume.
Holy cow.
That's
Really?
almost 200 proof.
Yeah,
Why would they ever set an alcohol by volume that's acceptable of 94.8?
One drink you couldn't get up.
Jameson Everclear.
You're down.
Well, that's the Irish we're talking about.
I'm just
please.
glad they kept it under 95.
Yeah.
Insanity. But from what I've read, Jameson, they typically age a minimum of 3 years for what we're drinking.
Okay.
But is there an age statement on the bottle, or is it's
No, that's
No.
just part of the requirement.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. But I'm just really shocked about the sherry. The reason I say that, I mean, bourbon casks, obviously what I think we all would have expected, but sherry casks is just crazy because they're so hard to get and they're not cheap. I mean, you know, that's what distinguishes a lot of single malt scotch, that they're willing to pay the premium for it and age it in it for a while. So I'm just shocked for a bottle at $32
Yeah.
to
Under
use-
$35 to use a sherry cask
Yeah.
says a lot.
And it's just, you know, funny because I think all of us have a positive reaction drinking this, and we know how much we love things aged in sherry casks. So it's kind of bringing together why I ever, you know, would have been interested in drinking this.
How does it compare to the other Irish whiskeys that you guys have had, like Redbreast?
I mean, I think Jameson prides itself on trying to be and arguably is like the smoothest Irish whiskey that you'll probably drink. Like all the other ones are more robust in flavor profile. So I think for someone who likes a really robust spirit and wants much more flavor and wants a little more of a punch with it, this might not be the spirit for them. But for someone who wants something easy drinking, flavorful enough, and accessible price point that you can find anywhere, I mean, that's why you would pick up Jameson.
Can have this for breakfast, dude. So good.
I'm impressed with, number one, I would assume just because of the brand and how well known it is, I'm assuming that you could probably find this in 99.99% of bars around the world.
It's everywhere.
For the amount of volume that Jameson produces of this spirit, the fact that they do have enough bourbon and sherry casks to process that kind of volume through it is really something.
It's an achievement for sure.
And then to put it through, I'm sure volume helps, but to put it out at that price that's accessible to every kind of whiskey drinker is really shocking.
Yeah. This thing also makes great cocktails. You know, a little ginger and a slice of lemon, and it's a hot summer day. It's an extraordinary drink. Very good.
Great car bombs in the winter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
The other thing, Jameson's history is very serious. I mean, I can't believe they started in 1780.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, they've been doing this a long time. And the funny thing is, the guy who started it, John Jameson, he's not actually Irish. He's Scottish. So the guy was a lawyer from Scotland before he decided to come to Dublin in 1780 and start the distillery that basically had his name initially and was kept in the family for quite some time. I wish Puba was here because in reading, John Jameson was actually a Dublin Freemason.
And he's part of the Illuminati.
That's right.
Yeah, we'd be going out in left field right now if he were here. Got to throw that fish hook out way out there to get him back in.
You won't need any other topics.
Correct.
But apparently the first distillery was on Bow Street, which was apparently like the biggest area for distilleries in Dublin. And it was kind of a family affair. It says that his son, John Jameson II, took over the family business eventually. Some of the other kids, John Jameson III in 1851 was heavily involved. And in 1901, the company changed its name and kind of formally incorporated as John Jameson and Son. And from there, obviously, grew into what's now, one of the biggest producers of whiskey, period. The irony, though, right now is it's no longer owned by the family or anyone in Ireland. It's actually owned by Pernod Ricard, a French company.
Oh, wow.
So they own like Glenlivet and a bunch of other, big brands, Absolute, a lot of the different spirit companies. But it's, it seems they've stayed true to the recipe. It's, as smooth as can be. And I've always enjoyed Jameson. I don't think I've ever had any complaints with it. Some interesting things that they do. I actually had this on a flight once. I flew Aer Lingus, the national airline of Ireland, once, not intentionally. I was flying from Seattle to Paris, which there are very few direct flights, and I was supposed to fly British Air. It got canceled, so I needed to get on any flight, so they paid to put me on Aer Lingus. And sitting in business class on that plane, I had wanted like a scotch, but they said they only had Jameson Caskmates. And this all comes back because I'm telling you, if you haven't had this, get a bottle and try it. It's basically Jameson ages the whiskey in X beer barrels that had like a stout. It gives the spirit this creaminess like you get in like a Guinness or a stout.
Does it have a black label?
Yes.
I've had that.
Okay.
It's actually very good.
It's really good. We should review it at some point on the podcast. It's a very good bottle. But I was shocked. I mean, I was drinking this the entire flight and just loving it. It was so good. So I'm also impressed. Like, I mean, one, can't believe they matured this in sherry for part of it. And two, just like the creativity and use of, a stout barrel from beer companies. And they partnered with even American brewers. I read 3 different American brewers that send their barrels to Jameson in Ireland to then use for caskmates when they actually distill the spirit and mature it.
Very cool.
You said it's Caskmates?
That's right.
Wow.
And it's that bottle with a black label on it.
Interesting.
Now, they also have a bottle with a green label that I've had as well. That I don't like as much as this in the black label.
And this is the standard Jameson that you can get everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really, really good. It's really smooth.
Yeah.
Definitely more smooth than, the other. When I think Irish whiskey, I think Redbreast.
Of course.
And Redbreast is a phenomenal spirit.
I would ask you to try it neat next time.
Okay.
Just a bit.
Have it as a shot.
Oh, dude.
No, typically, like if you're in an Irish bar, you're getting Jameson shots all the way through.
Of course, it's true.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes,
every fourth. Yeah.
I feel like I've been like sheltered. I don't know any of this.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of crazy.
We need to do a pub crawl with Gisbel.
Oh, dude, I'm ready for that.
That would be good.
Pick and whistle,
Yes.
Molly Wees.
We're not ending at my house. I'll just say that. My sink is seated up.
Get the plumber on standby.
Yeah, but if you're in an Irish bar, like Jameson shots are just going all the way through, man. It's the bartender is going to have a shot with you, and it's very chill.
So now I have to ask is, have you ever had a car bomb?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Holy smokes.
Can you believe this?
I don't even know what it is.
If this episode were being done on towards a weekend, I would have definitely
Can you make those?
got a Guinness, and yeah.
You can make that?
It's very simple.
Oh, wait.
Oh, it's
is
so
that,
easy.
Is that where you put you drop the shot in the Guinness?
Correct, Guinness and
And
Baileys.
then you drink the
And
thing.
Baileys.
Baileys and
And Baileys.
Jameson.
You got to drink it fast because it curls?
Yeah,
Curls?
that's exactly
Curls?
it. It curdles.
Curdles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how much Baileys and...
So it's about a half a pint of Guinness, and then you throw in the Jameson and the Bailey shot.
Oh, wow.
and then it starts
It's a delicious
becoming
drink.
very milky, but you
Yeah.
have to have it as a shot.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised it just goes down so easy. It's like you're not sipping that.
No, and it literally tastes like chocolate milk.
It's
Chocolate
delicious.
Really?
It's delicious.
I got to try that. I feel like I've been like sheltered somewhere that I've never heard.
Go to
of
an
any of
Irish
this.
pub, dude.
I should do it.
Next time we're at the North Lounge,
Oh,
we're gonna order Gizmo
Yes.
the car bomb. This
I
will be
want
amazing.
I want one. I haven't had one in a while.
interesting.
Mm.
So, boys, we're about halfway through here on the Padilla Candela in Robusto. I got to say, this is shocking me right now how good this is. For a $10 cigar with a green wrapper on it, I'm really, really impressed.
It's good. It's for me. There's a very slight hint of bitterness on the front, just a touch, and it could be because my mouth's dry. Maybe I need a sip.
Or
But
you could be smoking a little fast.
I'm smoking this actually very fast, honestly, because the draw's so wide open. That's possible, but it's really very enjoyable.
But I agree with you. I get the bitterness as well. So I get a little bit of
You and I are chimneys, so we do need to slow down.
slow down a bit, yeah. But I do get the bitterness. And for a creamy, kind of cigar, the finish is, I think, just medium for me. It's not
It's not
very
light.
long. It's not very, very.
Mm. Are you finding this to increase in strength for anyone here?
Not really.
No, right?
I think it stayed about the
Yeah, it's
same. I think
kinda-
as it's heated up, I'm getting a little bit more concentrated. The salt is definitely picked up for me in the front.
I'm getting salt.
I'm not getting bitter.
Okay.
I feel like the flavors have kind of really, really softened in their, like they're all kind of working together. There's nothing really jumping out trying to be the star of the show.
Hmm.
And I think it's really working.
It's just so easy to smoke.
Getting a little spice, little salt, little
Yeah.
sweetness. It's working really nice.
I'm also glad that we have the pairing we do because Jameson, with how smooth it is, it's not overpowering this mild cigar.
That's right. Agreed.
Yeah, I'm just very curious what the blend is.
Yeah, we want to know.
It's very odd that this is a Nicaraguan cigar.
That's so mild
and you don't get the Nicaraguan notes out of it.
no, or that strength that you're used to.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes to, we've debunked this with Cuban cigars that, the wrapper is not a significant source of flavor. But
Exactly right.
with New World cigars, the fact that it's suggesting that most Candela smoke basically the same in terms of flavor profile, clearly a lot of the flavor is coming from the wrapper.
Hmm. I heard that La Flor Dominicana green cigar is really a powerhouse. I've never had it. I've heard it's really quite strong. Unique for this colored cigar, right?
Yeah, so to answer your question, Rooster, I can't find any information anywhere on the internet about the blend of the Padilla Candela cigars, including on their website, retailers, anywhere. I cannot find it anywhere. So it's interesting that that's not published.
We're going to have to ask Padilla at PCA.
We'll have to do that. We have one question for you. What's the blend of the Candela?
Yeah.
No, actually, I think with the history we went through earlier with his
Mm.
father, it's really interesting. He was born they were from Pinar del Rio, where tobacco was grown, and then his father was a poet, not a tobacco farmer.
It's amazing.
It's a pretty incredible story
It is.
for him to come to the United
Yep.
States and start a brand that's just successful.
Yeah.
You know who one of his favorite people is, Bam?
I don't.
Cigar Vixen. She has her own specials page on their
So
website.
he and I share a,
Yeah.
kindred spirit to a degree.
You'll be sharing plenty together in Vegas.
I think she might make a poet out of you.
I may get arrested in Vegas.
So we are going to Vegas later this week, boys, for the annual Premium Cigar Association Trade Show
Yeah.
2024. And it's our first trade show that we're doing
Mhm.
as the podcast. And looking forward to a lot of things that are going to be happening.
And after Bam Bam meets the Cigar Vixen, it'll be our last.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll never see me again, by the way. I will evaporate.
So really the headlining note about PCA 24 this year, the 60th anniversary of Padron is going to be celebrated. I'm assuming with a new Padron Family Reserve cigar, as they always do, and a keynote address on the opening day, which is pretty cool.
I wonder if they'll introduce the collaboration. So
Well, it's not been released, and
I
they've
know.
already talked about it
I
so
know.
much. I would assume they'd have it there, but
You would think.
So you're talking, for the listener, Bam is referencing the collaboration between Arturo Fuente and Padron, celebrating each other's fathers. We've talked about that quite a bit. It was delayed about a year.
Yeah.
And then when it was shipping, got delayed again because there was some shipping errors and a bunch of boxes got damaged. And since then, what was that? November, December?
Yep.
We haven't heard a peep about it. So hopefully at PCA, we're going to learn a little more. But I would assume Padron is going to launch a 60th anniversary cigar celebrating the brand. They're going to do the keynote. Like we said, they're going to give 200 cigars away, and they're going to do a keynote. The family's going to do a keynote. So that's going to be something to, look forward to this year.
It's going to be great. Will our credentials say our lizard names?
They will.
Really?
Yes.
Are you serious?
I swear.
That's fucking cool. I like that.
I actually saw the previews today.
Oh, I'm actually excited. That's great.
Yeah. So PCA has a lot of cool stuff going on. We were talking about some of the things that were happening. On the opening day, there's going to be a new docuseries about hand-rolled cigars, which is pretty cool, sponsored by Tatuaje. There's going to be a cigar pairing seminar with La Aurora. This is something I'm really looking forward to, especially given our recent love. We've really enjoyed Foundation Cigars. Nick Melillo of Foundation Cigars is going to do a presentation about Connecticut tobacco in the Connecticut River Valley, followed by the keynote presentation by the Padron family, and then a cigar panel featuring Ernesto Carrillo, Tim Osgener from Crowned Heads, and John Huber, moderated by David Savona of Cigar Aficionado. And then there's a opening reception that night sponsored by Crowned Heads and EP Carrillo. So, just on the first day, quite an agenda.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to get done. So what are you guys looking forward to?
I don't know what to expect. I've never been to anything like this.
I think the Padron piece for sure.
Sure.
We're all huge fans.
That's right.
I'm looking forward to whatever they release and hopefully getting to spend a little time with Jorge Padron.
Cigar Vixen.
Of course, how can we forget? I think there's just a ton of stuff that's going to be released there. So I'm just kind of excited to see some of this. I know my father has 3 new releases that they're coming out with there. Monte Cristo.
Oh, this is an exciting one.
Has
Senator.
As bold a release as anybody. They've decided to release a Monte Cristo 1935 anniversary edition Doble Diamante that is going to sell for $150 per
Yikes.
stick.
And this is a New World Monte Cristo.
Yeah. Where are we going?
Are the Cuban Monte Cristo 1935s even $150?
No.
No.
They're about 80.
And how much shit do we give Habanos about the price of
Correct.
high level global brands? That is unbelievable.
What is going on?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Speaking of craziness, a cigar brand that definitely qualifies as crazy, San Parai.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you guys have lots of stories about him.
We love him.
They're coming out with a new green line, which I feel like they haven't
Candela?
released. No, just the band on the cigar will be green. But I feel like they haven't come out with anything new in years.
No, that's true.
And everything, as I remember, I've never had them. I know you guys did because there were events at our old lounge.
Yes.
I've never even had one of his cigars, but weren't they incredibly expensive?
Very expensive, but they were very good.
They were
very, very good.
They basically, their core line, most of those sticks are like $50 a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing I did appreciate, they had kind of a more budget-friendly, more accessible line. Remember with those like funky wrappers? There was like a black one that had like a pigtail.
And there was one that was marbled red with black and gray.
Yeah, the Rosado.
That was actually very good.
They were. I remember I had bought some of those. They're probably like $15 a stick, more the price point that I think most people would expect or be looking for. So
good
their
cigars.
cigars were good, but yeah, the price point is just silly. People are not going to smoke $50 sticks on a daily basis. No. That's just silly.
Yeah. When you look at, prior to, they're not out yet, but Padron's highest cigar as of this moment available in the market is a $50 cigar.
Yeah.
The Hammer. Obviously that's going to change with the collaboration, some of these other things, but
Yeah.
to be offering cigars at that kind of high price point, and that's your core line.
Sure.
That's a bit challenging, I think.
Very.
In the New World market.
That's a phenomenal stick by Padron. 50.
Oh, yeah.
Hammer.
The storied cigar.
It's incredible. So we also saw that Foundation, we were just mentioning Nick Melillo, he canceled the El Wawense and the Wise Man lines.
I'm heartbroken.
You are.
Pagoda is pretty bummed out about
Yeah,
it.
man.
And we enjoyed both of those cigars on the podcast.
They were good.
And they're launching a new Wise Man line, which will be manufactured by my father. And he says that the blends are going to be completely different. There's going to be no overlap in the blends. So I would assume either they weren't selling well or were disappointing, maybe versus the Olmec or some of the other, core lines that they sell. But it's interesting to see two lines getting canceled to be replaced by another one manufactured at my father. What I've heard though is that with that transition, they will no longer be having any of their cigars made at Aganor Salif. So we talked about their cigars were made at that factory.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, I guess, is moving away from there, and these are going to be made at the My Father factory.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
That should be interesting. So yeah, we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of surprises, a lot of interesting stuff. It'll be nice to meet a lot of the people we've been talking to over the years in person. I'm excited to meet the people from Cigar Oasis because we love them. We all use their stuff.
Of course.
I mean, the best.
Excellent product.
Best humidification system on the planet.
No doubt
So excited to meet them.
Bovita.
Bovino. Excited to meet all these accessory manufacturers. It's gonna be a really, really good event, and hopefully we get to smoke some great cigars.
Yeah.
Maybe a Vigilantic. They'll be there.
Yeah, Vigilant should be there.
Yeah.
So boys, I don't know if you guys heard the news. I know Senator is probably thrilled about this. Did you guys hear about the troubles that United Airlines has been having the last few weeks?
Didn't a tire fall off or
something? Senator came into the lounge as if I was the technician that was supposed to take care of that tire on the plane.
What are we doing?
Gizmo has been the biggest United evangelist. I'm just saying.
And I wanted to bring it up
on the payroll.
Because they've had quite a string of issues over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Quite a string is an understatement.
So let's run through some of them, Senator. So number one, a plane taking off at LAX.
Yeah,
I believe.
SFO, I thought.
Was it San Francisco? San Francisco. A wheel fell off during takeoff.
Literally crashed through a car.
Dude, that's terrifying to see on video. That's terrifying.
It's crazy.
How do you land a plane without the wheel?
Well, they landed.
They had an emergency. I think the emergency landing happened in L.A. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
God.
And they have to train these pilots for these kind of situations, especially when you're flying a United plane. Clearly,
That's insane.
It's been a lot of sparks.
Yeah.
Well, I think it fell off the back wheel where there's probably 10 or 12 tires.
Wheels,
God knows.
One of them fell off, so it wasn't the whole mechanism, but obviously it's still a major
yeah.
problem.
It did fall in the employee parking lot, if I remember.
Yeah, went
They're
right through a car.
Lucky it didn't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh.
And then there were two other planes that went off the runway.
Yeah. One in Houston.
One in Houston and one at LAX, I believe. Unbelievable. I don't understand what's going on with air travel.
It's
the scariest
terrifying,
one.
honestly.
The scariest one. This was from February. A United plane that had to make an emergency landing for God knows what other problem. The wing of the plane started to come apart. There's look at this photo.
Oh my God.
This is a passenger took this while the plane's trying to land, that the wing is literally breaking into pieces and coming apart.
While it's landing.
Yeah, look at that.
That's scary, man.
Can you imagine looking out of your plane window and seeing that?
No.
Like, I don't want to fly. I don't want to fly anymore.
So all I'm going to say is
we're flying on Thursday.
I rest my case.
United?
United, that too.
Are we? I thought it was American.
No, United.
You know, they're performing really well.
I'm taking a train.
They're performing really well at the stock. They're just they're cutting the labor in the wrong probably in maintenance or something. I don't know what's going on.
We're laughing, but it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Plus, with that Boeing 737 where the door flew off mid-flight, there's been a bunch of other problems. I saw a Delta flight landed somewhere and took out the fuel truck or like the luggage cart the other day. Completely knocked it over, destroyed the wing.
What is going on?
It's a little scary what's going on with air travel right now.
Oh, it's been great on American Airlines. No complaints.
Why did we book United?
Yeah, all I'm going to say is everybody better write a will before we get on.
Oh, no, that's bad luck. I got to knock on some wood, man.
So, boys, we're well into the second third here on the Padilla Candela in Robusto. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've had to relight mine like a few times.
Really?
Well,
I only had to do that when I was talking.
You take long breaks, Rooster.
No, it's not that.
Okay.
I enjoyed the first half more.
It's
know
still
what's
not
going on.
bad.
Yeah, to me, it's been pretty consistent.
Yeah. That bitterness went away.
Mine has like a nice potpourri scent on the foot.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Nice, spicy, sweet
Mm-hmm.
on the draw. The retrohale is fantastic.
You're getting a good potpourri and a retrohale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty good cigar.
Mm-hmm.
See how it finishes here, but I'm really enjoying it. All right, boys, I'm excited about this. We have a new segment alert. New segment alert tonight on the podcast.
Ding, 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 ding.
So we've been talking about how to involve listeners more, how to bring listener voices into the room with us, because we always talk about every time we do an anniversary episode or a holiday episode, and we kind of reflect on our nostalgia of starting this thing a few years ago and sitting here with each other every week and smoking cigars like this that we would have never reached for had it not been for this podcast.
Or the listeners.
And through all that, we've helped kind of create this incredible community of human beings out there who listen to us every week, smoke along with us, get really passionate, send emails, and
make their own
messages,
stickers, hold Bam Bam accountable.
They hold Bam Bam accountable. That is really a nice thing.
I don't like that.
Thank you, listeners.
Because we always say that there's that extra. It's like we operate with an empty chair in the room because the listener is part of the conversation.
Very well said.
And that's how we operate, and that's kind of a major part of our ethos here. So the idea was, how do we involve listeners more in this podcast on a week-to-week basis? And I think that we have found an interesting way to do it. And I wanted to share with you a message that came into our email, a voice memo from one of our listeners asking us a question that he has some interest in us answering. So check this out from Lizard Sean.
So we have no idea what's going on.
Oh,
yeah, by the way, this is
as the listener.
We know Lizard Sean. Yeah.
No, I know, but we don't know what's about to happen.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't prep the guys on this. So let's check this out.
I feel an ambush coming on.
Hey, Lizards. Lizard Sean here from Southern New Jersey. Wanted to get your guys' feedback and thought on custom rolls. I know you guys don't talk about them a whole lot. Actually, just heard you talking about the ones from FOH last week. But want to get your overall thoughts. Do you guys smoke them on a regular basis? Do you think it's a good substitute for the regular production? And do you see it as a viable substitution as prices continue to skyrocket? So keep up the great work. You have a lot of fans out there, and look forward to hearing more. Take care.
How awesome is that?
That is very cool.
Lizard Sean.
I'm getting goosebumps. I love that piece.
Lizard
Very
Sean
cool.
coming through. So before we answer Lizard
Great
Sean's
question.
the great questions.
Yeah.
A few really good questions in there, actually. Really important for listeners out there. Please send us your voice memos with your questions and make sure the quality is really good. Record it well into your phone, and we'll play them on air here and answer your questions.
Very cool.
Senator snickered when I said make sure they're good quality.
Oh yeah, Gizmo is the tough critic.
Oh yeah.
I'm impressed.
You're out.
I'm
You're
impressed
out.
that
You're
Lizard
out.
Sean met your standards. So
Criteria. You met
kudos
the
to him.
criteria.
He did. So I'm looking forward to more listeners being heard on this podcast with great questions like that. So I'll pass the questions to you guys. First off, what are your impressions of custom rolls, both New World and Cuban, that you've had?
I think all of us are smoking more custom rolled. I mean, just like the way Sean said, the prices keep going up. And I know for myself, I'm smoking less of the Bandit stuff because it's just harder to replace. And especially the aged stuff, I see less and less of that coming up. And when it does, the prices are so high that the custom rolls are a great alternative to that.
Yeah, and I'll say this, the quality of the custom rolls for me I think for all of us was probably always a little suspect because we didn't know what it was, where it came from, no band. But they're surprisingly good, and they're an excellent substitute for your collection. On almost a weekly or daily basis. Excellent option.
I'll say this, that maybe I look at this a little bit differently. I full disclosure, was very anti-custom roll for a long time.
We
And
know.
for me, it used to be a matter of there's no band on it. I can't be absolutely certain where it's coming from or what's in it. It just doesn't have the same standard, and so I always worried about the quality of what I was smoking. What I will say is try everything. And I say that because as I have finally not been as stubborn and tried some of these custom rolls, I have found ones I really like. But the thing I view differently, I don't view them as a substitute. To me, when you're looking for a substitute, it's like, well, what can I find that isn't maybe exactly what I'm looking for, that banded cigar, but is just good enough to replace it. And my experience with custom rolls has been, you know, the ones that I smoke regularly and that I've grown to appreciate, I enjoy just as much as anything with a band on
Oh,
it. So
absolutely.
to me, it's like not even a substitute. It's an and in my rotation.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm worried about running out of a certain banded cigar or I'm doing it solely based on price. They are cheaper, and they happen to be, many of them, not all, of course, just as good
Yeah.
as some of the banded stuff that I smoke regularly. So for me, it's been a huge revelation recently, and I think that the only way you're going to find it is if you just try a lot of these different custom rolls. And I think it's impossible that you won't find something that you will want to add to your daily rotation.
They're delicious. And honestly, you have to know your sources. Our procurement manager that I'm looking at now does his research. He knows where they're coming from. It matters, right? So where you're getting it from really does matter. I think that's a big factor
That's true.
in this approach.
Yeah, and it seems like we're all discussing, Cuban custom rolls. There are a lot of custom rolls in the New World arena.
Yeah.
And over there, you might find greater variations. But once again, if you do have a good source like Bam just said, you're likely to enjoy them. And it's definitely an addition to your overall collection.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have not had any New World custom rolled cigars.
I've never had those either.
There's so many.
I don't know what to expect from that
Yeah.
that perspective.
Or where to even get them.
Well, I have from, Giz and FOH.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call them custom rolls. I mean, they're just unbanded. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but in the New World space, I mean, I've been very lucky. A little over a year now, right around a year, I guess. Rob Isla, who owns Friends of El Habano, invited me on the tasting panel. So I've been trying all of the stuff they've been manufacturing, production. A lot of them have now been released. I think we talked about that in September, October, November, somewhere around there, that those cigars had started coming out. But they're ramping up production. And, the cigars are really, really good. Like, it's something that I'm like proud to say that I tasted early on. And I'm, proud to say that I actually enjoy smoking them.
It's awesome.
And it's what I like about it, is those cigars for me are comparable to the Cuban cigar experience. And that's where custom rolls for me really do play, play a part in my rotation and in my smoking habit. Is maybe unlike what Senator said, I do factor in value when I'm reaching for cigars. I do think about that a little bit. I walk up to the humidor, and it's just easy for me to reach for these customs that I have so many of that are really providing me a very similar or sometimes better experience than a lot of the cigars that I can get banded from Cuba at a very high price, maybe 3 or 4 times the price.
Yeah.
So that's where value, comes into play here. Is I know that when I buy cigars from a guy like Rob and Hamlet, who are making amazing cigars at Friends of El Habano and Bon Roberts and the Nudies program, I know every one of those cigars is not going to have a draw issue. It's not going to have a construction issue. Maybe the flavor profile will be better or worse or aligned with my palate or not. And there's certainly preferences I have across the line, no question about it, but they're fantastic.
Yeah, I think the variety play that Senator mentioned earlier it just makes your whole cigar rotation interesting when you have a sit. If you're going to do 5 or 6 cigars, you got a really good custom roll that's integrated with your banded stuff. It makes it a pretty interesting sit, I think, for me.
I mean, for example, if you have a custom rolled Cohiba Siglo 5, for example, that you're paying a fraction of the price, how can the price not come into play? I mean,
Of course.
regular
Especially if it
banded
tastes good.
Siglo 5
Especially if it tastes
is
good.
like close
Yeah.
to $80 to $100
Correct.
per cigar.
That's right.
And a custom rolled is maybe like 15, 16. It's, under $20.
Yeah.
No, but
and
Rooster,
very good.
what ends up happening is for a lot of the guys, for the listeners, where do they procure something and where do they get the validation that these are from Cuba, in effect, or from a particular factory representing a certain marker? I think what ends up happening, we hear, and that's the thing with custom rolls, the definition is so broad. a lot of the guys will go to a particular cigar store often, and the cigar stores will have their own custom rolled.
Yeah.
So it's very
Yeah.
difficult to really gauge what kind of custom rolls you're
It's a
getting.
good point.
And the other thing I think is a lot of the custom rolls are often very fresh, right? They'll take the leaves and they'll do it. So they're not aged in, so you don't know what their real effect is. So at the end of the day, it's like if you do come across a custom roll that you enjoy, meaning it's just, you got to get lucky with the procurement once again.
And I think you have to get as close to the person who's making the blending decision and actually rolling the cigar as possible, because the more steps away from that human being you get is where you get what Pagoda's saying, which is this lack of understanding of what you're really smoking. Is the person at the cigar store really telling you the truth? Are they ordering these on Cigars International for $2 and selling them in their shop for 10 and telling you there's some sort of custom roll? So as close as you can get to the source, that's really the difference maker for me. So New World Cigars, trusting someone with like Rob Ayala and Hamlet Paredes to make cigars that are shipping out of Miami, and they're $10 a piece.
And you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting.
You can order fivers, and you can go on his forum and ask him questions about it. You can send him an email. Those things really matter. And that's where for us, with our Cuban connections now, having gone to Cuba as many times as we have over the last 2 years, that's why it's turned around. And I think Senator's had a bit of a different experience because we're interfacing directly with the human beings that are making these cigars.
For sure. And I also think that's why, when I say try everything, it's really important that you experiment early in small quantities and that you don't just dive in head first where someone offers you some custom roll and you say, sure, I'm going to take 40 of those. And, sometimes you're not going to be happy with the experience. And sometimes what's advertised to you is not really what it is. And so, I think we've had members of our own lounge here who were well-intentioned in wanting to pursue some custom rolls. And I'll never forget. And the way to protect against this would have been to just order a very small quantity at first and try. And if you realize that you got something that was not what was advertised, you just move on. You cut your losses at a very minimal cost. The problem is when you order, in volume right off the start, I'll never forget these guys lighting up these cigars that they thought were Cuban custom rolls. And I'm watching one of the guys try to smoke this cigar, and the ash is literally crumbling like sand as he's smoking it, which tells you it's all short filler garbage from the floor. And it's not a real long filler custom rolled cigar. So in those instances, had you just bought a fiver, okay, not ideal, but you're out $50. But I think, anybody would be upset they're out $500 when they made a more serious investment in it. So that's where I really think you have to try first in small quantities to validate the quality of what you are or are not getting. And once you find something that meets your flavor profile, that, passes the standard test of showing that it's long filler tobacco, it's well constructed, you don't have draw issues, and it checks all those boxes, then stock up.
Sure.
And the last thing I'll say, I think Pagoda also brings up a great point, is around, how young and fresh a lot of these are. Try one early and let the rest sit. And I think for any of the stuff we've gotten even out of Cuba, having it sit in our humidors for, at least a few months has improved it dramatically, where it's come down to the right humidity level. It's got some, at least, age. It's not literally just fresh, like, rolled a week ago. And I think that only helps with the experience.
Agreed. Know your source at the end of the day.
The other thing that's important too, and it goes back to what Pagoda was saying about the variation in quality in this thing under this umbrella of custom rolls, is that, and we've talked about this before, certainly in our group, but construction and good tobacco is one thing, but it's the person, it's that blender making that recipe decision, making sure it's consistent, watching over it to make sure the quality is there, doing a process like Rob is doing at FOH, maybe not having a panel of people, he has obviously a huge community he can reach to for feedback, but you have to imagine any of these manufacturers, Padron, Fuente, whoever, they have their own tasting panels. Maybe it's in the factory. People are constantly trying things. This is working. This is not. There's quality control, knowing that your recipe is right, and then making sure that the ingredients are consistent and the construction is consistent, right? So if you're dealing with bad actors, you might have a good well-constructed roll, but it may not be what they say it was, or where it came from, or who rolled it, or who didn't. Or it could be someone who's just very good at rolling cigars that has no idea how to lay out,
how to blend,
how to blend, and how to lay the tobacco leaves into the cigar properly so that it burns and tastes well. Think about what happened when we sat with Danilo. Right. We finished the interview that we released a few episodes ago. He sat down and he pulled out some cigars that had been confiscated at the Havana airport that were supposedly Behike 54s. And he took a knife to it, cut it open, and literally started picking apart the inconsistencies and the problems of where these leaves were, the quantity of each leaf that was wrong, how they were laid in the cigar was wrong, how there was too much pectin on the wrapper, the wrapper keeping it on. And it didn't pull the binder apart, I think.
Yeah.
When he was taking it apart, and he named like 10 things.
Ton of short filler in there too.
Ton of short filler too.
Yeah.
And he named like 10 things that were wrong with the cigar. But obviously, if you're not an expert, you're not going to be able to cut a cigar open and know that. So it comes down to knowing your source, knowing who's making those recipe and blending decisions, and making sure that they keep it consistent. So that's where, if you're looking for something that's unique and different, maybe something that touches Cuban tobacco, go to FOH, Friends of El Habano. Check those out. You can buy fivers. They have a bunch of different sizes that are excellent. And like Pagoda said, if you find a, custom roll somewhere at a shop, to Senator's point, instead of buying 25 or 50 or 100, buy 3.
Yeah.
And just try them. And if they suck, you're good.
Yeah.
And if they're great, you're good too.
Correct.
Instead of diving headfirst in thinking that you're, catching a whale.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example. When we released the Vinales episode and we went out to Pinar del Rio, when we were at Hector Luis's farm, they had a bunch of custom rolls and we bought small quantities, tried them. There was some that I did not like that I would not purchase any more of, and some that were better. And so, even there, it's just experimenting, and you'll quickly find what doesn't, hit your palate in the right way and what does, and just stock up on the stuff that you like.
Yeah.
This is just an open-ended question to the custom agent who confiscated my custom rolls. How are you enjoying them, buddy? How?
They're all fake, by the way.
Yeah. Did you give him a card by the way, so he could listen to the podcast while he was smoking them?
For the listener, some customs agent in Miami Airport is smoking his way through 20 Cohiba Pyramides Extras custom rolls that Pagoda rolled through the airport with. Bastard.
Which incidentally were bought in the US, by the way.
So let me ask you guys this. I know, we have some FOH cigars that we're going to be trying now that those cigars are rolling out. Have you guys had custom roll experiences with New World custom rolls that you thought were good? And again, I'm kind of eliminating FOH. I don't like to put the custom roll label on what FOH is doing because it's really not. It's
Not
just
that I can
unbanned.
remember. New World?
I haven't, but one of you, and I think maybe it was Bam, someone recently said that they had either the house blend
Here.
at our lounge here,
That's right.
and that it was actually good.
I actually enjoyed it. Not a bad cigar here. I think it's like $6.
We're at 1086.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
at 1086 here. Yeah, our second home. And it was actually pretty good. No complaints.
There you go.
Yeah, it was okay.
And a lot of
to
guys in the
Senator's
lounge
point,
smoke
though,
those.
look, I wouldn't go in and buy 10. I bought 1 just to try it. And if I'm stuck and if I'm at work or if I'm on a site and I'm going home and I don't have anything on me, I'd buy one of those and sit down and have it.
I mean, for $6, you can't go wrong.
You can't.
You know,
can't.
try it.
Yeah.
And you kind of liked it. So
It was good. Yeah, smokable.
Yeah, and whoever was there when we were having this conversation, there was a lot of enthusiasm among
It's true.
several people.
It's true. Yeah.
I was at a wedding recently, and they had one of these fresh cigar rollers come up there. It wasn't bad, but it's the night. You're kind of drunk. You're having a good time. You're smoking,
I have
and
to
as long as
say-
it's puffing away, it's all good.
This is a huge departure from where we were just a year ago.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like we would never consider this as an option for us, right? We were very strict. We were very particular about our selections. They have to be banded. This is really incredible that we've gone so far.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I think it's a great journey.
And I do think it, to tie Lizard Sean's question back into this, it really now has expanded beyond Cuban intention with the price increases. Obviously, none of us can deny that looking for value in Cuban cigars has become more important to us because the prices have tripled, in some cases quadrupled. I mean, it's been crazy the way the prices have gone.
But we have also found some really good cigars in the New World.
We have
the New World side. I mean, they're like gems. I mean, we've found so many.
They really
good
are.
ones, and the price point is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are like under $10.
And a few are in our daily, weekly rotation.
Yeah, like the Oliva
Lancero.
Lancero. I smoke probably 5 a week.
Don Pepin Lancero.
That warped cigar is still excellent. I had that last week. It was so good.
Yeah.
The Foundation Lancero was great.
Oh, the Tabernacle.
Yeah, the Tabernacle was great.
And the Illusion that we had.
The Illusion was good.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, so many good ones.
Yes, it's true.
And the one thing I do want to clarify, when I say, I'm not looking at this about price primarily, I don't mean that.
Don't retract your statement.
No, because it's an important distinction. Because some may identify with this. I don't mean in any way I'm not looking for value, or I don't care that prices have gone through the roof with Cuban cigars. I'm just as frustrated as anybody. But the reality is the Cuban cigars that we all have, we purchased at a much more reasonable price point. Yeah. And my only distinction is like, I'm not squirreling these away to like last until I'm old and gray. Like, I'm happy to smoke them now at a price point that I was extremely comfortable buying them with. And I'm finding so many other great cigars I like that I'm not worried about like running out of something and like, oh, well, man, what am I going to smoke now? It's like, I have so many other great options to smoke that when I do run out of something, I'm not going to smoke it, or I'm going to pay a bit of a premium, but there's just so much more. Like when we look at what our rotation looks like now to the discussion we're having about how far we've come, I mean, it's doubled, tripled, quadrupled.
The departure is just tremendous. It's tremendous. And back to Rooster's point, it's like open the repertoire, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of just mixing in the customs with the regular stuff.
And
like
the New World.
We're still smoking
as
many D4s and RAS and all of that.
Sure.
We're just adding some of the custom rolls with it.
That's why, like, I don't see myself running out of like a Bellicosos Finos that I bought at a very reasonable, let's say $15 a stick, and saying to myself, well, oh man, now I have to smoke this Cohiba Siglo 5 custom roll. It's like, no, I love that cigar just as much. And so I'm not going to be distraught when I run out of something. That's my point. Like, I'm not trying to nurse this as long as possible. I'm going to smoke them as I enjoy them. And when they run out, I'm fine with that. There's many other great things.
I typically meant about the Cohiba cigars in particular, and the Trinidads.
Yeah.
Like if you were buying the Fundadors, for like $685 for a box of 25, and now they're like $1,900. So I would not want to spend that much on a box of those.
Yeah, of course.
So
well, for me with that cigar, I'm not gonna want to replace them when I'm done with them. So I'm gonna happily smoke through them. I mean, I enjoy them, but I don't enjoy them enough where I want to pay even a slight premium over what I paid before.
Correct. That's true.
It's a very good cigar, but it's not like a top 5 cigar for me. So for me, it's easier to part with stuff like that because I wouldn't be tempted to replace them.
There are staples in our rotation that you're going to replace, like D4s and RAS. I'm at a point
those are the only ones.
Correct. You're willing to pay a premium for those because you want those.
I like the Coloniales.
I love that cigar.
Oh yeah, but I'll never smoke that at that price.
Yeah, I'll never pay that for that.
It's $42, I think, for that little.
Stupid.
It's ridiculous.
I saw that recently.
It's lower.
Like what the price.
And don't forget too. I mean, Trinidad is about to do their Habanos is about to do a whole relaunch in May of Trinidad because the brand is not. The consumer has not accepted that the brand is a high profile brand. So they're doing a whole relaunch of that in London. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if
it's going to collapse. It's not going to do well.
I don't think so either, but we'll see. Who knows? What the pivot attempt is here. But just like in this room, the consumer is trained that Trinidad is not a brand that's in line price wise with Cohiba. It's just not accepted.
Yeah.
At being a Cohiba type brand.
But I'm already starting to see discounted pricing on Cohibas and Trinidads.
Really?
Yeah.
On certain sites. I saw a box of Coloniales just come up, and it was $690, I believe, for a box of 24.
Oh wow, still way too much.
Down. Yeah, it is.
That box should be $400.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small cigar. It's not a big smoke.
delicious, but way overpriced.
Right.
Yeah. So to answer Lizard Sean's question, I hope we did answer it. I hope we did answer Lizard Sean's question sufficiently. But yeah, custom rolls, it's really all about knowing your source and getting as close to the person blending and rolling that cigar as possible.
Maybe we need a Lounge Lizard custom roll.
That's not a bad idea,
I like
Rooster.
it.
That's not a bad
We need
idea.
to create our own blend.
Now we cooking.
All right, we're gonna start working on it.
A double Toro.
I hope it's not green.
The
that's
first
all.
of its kind.
If we make them green, we can get them out faster.
Yeah, I know, in 3 days.
It would be a true lizard cigar if they were green.
That's true.
There you
That's
go.
very true.
Cook and blanch and
I'm already thinking about the band.
Yeah, right.
With the Lounge Lizard band on there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Black and white.
That's right.
Let's do it.
Look for those in 2026. All right, boys, are you ready to move into our ratings tonight? Let's do the formal liquor rating on the Jameson Irish Whiskey. Bam Bam, you're up.
So this for me could be a 9 or a 10 because of its price and how available it is and how delicious it is. I'm going to give it a 9 because I can drink this on a weekly basis every other day. Be very happy with it. 9.
Okay, Pagoda.
I'm at a 8. It's not something that I drink that often. My memory is attached to this Morris shots. It's not like if I were to go to a bar, I'd say, hey, listen, can I get Jameson on ice? That's not what I do. So it's an 8 for me. But it's a very I think it's very clean and light bodied. It's somewhat one of those drinks that whenever you want to have it, like whether it's the summer or the winter, I think you can have a little bit of it for sure.
Senator.
I'm also at an 8. I mean, I think the price point is obviously great. The spirit itself, I think, is straightforward, enjoyable. It's kind of just like an old, reliable spirit that,
Absolutely
if
reliable.
you're in an
Yeah.
airport and there's not much selection, you're never going to be disappointed
Nope.
having some Jameson. But, it's so straightforward that to me, it lacks complexity for me to give it a 9 or a 10. I would want a little more body in something that I would score higher than an 8, but it's still definitely a recommend. And if somehow you're like Gizmo and you've never had Jameson, I think you have to try Jameson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've like I said, I feel like I've been on Mars or something. I've never had Jameson before, but tonight was the first, and I thought it was really good. I didn't think it, it was incredible. I really liked the pairing with this mild cigar tonight, and
Yeah.
I think that's where this has utility for me. Is if you're sipping something and you're not smoking a cigar, I think it would suit well in that case. But with a more full Nicaraguan or a Dominican cigar, I think it would kind of pale in comparison flavor wise. I think it'd get
Try
kind
it
of
neat.
steamrolled.
If you have it neat with a Nicaraguan, it's quite nice.
So for me, it's an 8, and I'm very comfortable with that score. I actually thought you guys were going to be closer to 9s.
Well, I'm at a 9.
You were at a 9.
Yeah.
But that puts the formal liquor rating on this, boys, at an 8.3,
Nice
which
score.
I think is a very fair
That's
score
a nice
for
score.
a $32 bottle of Irish whiskey.
Good
And
recommend.
I will say, as I mentioned before, we should do the cask mates at some point because when you describe pairing something with a Nicaraguan cigar with a bit more body, I do think that would hold up better.
That black label would do a great job with that, with the Nicaraguan for sure.
All right, it's time to do the formal lizard rating on the Padilla Candela in Robusto. Rooster, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect with this cigar. You kind of have a perceived notion, well, Candela, it's a green wrapper. Right away, you're thinking like, well, it's not going to be great. But it started off, I mean, like very pleasant. There was really nothing wrong with that cigar. It was not offensive. It was very smooth. But having said that, I mean, I was expecting when Giz said it's Nicaraguan cigar, I was expecting more out of it. I didn't really expect it to be that mild. So I enjoyed the first half. I didn't really care for it in the second half. I had to relight it quite a few times. My cigar was kind of tunneling a little bit. So because of all of that, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay, Senator.
I'm going to be generous here. I'm shockingly at an 8. And I say that because construction-wise, for me, it was flawless all the way through. It burned even. The ash held on. It's smoked like a premium cigar, and yet it's only $10. So that definitely checked all the boxes. The flavor, obviously milder than something I would normally pick up, but of mild smokes that I've tried to wrap my head around, can I enjoy this? Is there a time of day I could slot this and enjoy it? Um, it's one of the better mild smokes I've had. Nothing was offensive at any point for me, and there was a creaminess and a somewhat refined character about it that made it smoke not like a budget cigar. So I think for someone who appreciates a mild smoke, I find it hard to imagine they wouldn't enjoy this cigar. And for me, if someone handed me a cigar in the morning and I didn't have any on me, would I smoke one of these again? I would. So I'll give it an 8.
So I'm also at an 8. I came into this tonight with very low expectations, to the point where I thought there may be a possibility that we didn't even want to record the episode
mutiny
after 5 or 10 minutes in. Like, I really was.
Well, it's gimmicky, right?
Yeah, and it was. You don't see many people smoking these. I mean, it's hard to find them in retail stores or online. So when I had to order it direct from the manufacturer, I was like, is this something specialized that is going to be totally opposite of what our palate's going to accept? And thankfully, it wasn't the case tonight. Is this a cigar that I'm going to run out and buy? No. Would I be happy to smoke this again if it was handed to me or if I ran into it at a store? Certainly. I think from a slotting standpoint, it's an early in the day cigar, a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee, maybe not even espresso, something lighter. I don't think it's going to touch my rotation. I don't think it has any point or part of entering my rotation. I don't think that'll ever happen. At $10, I think it's a good price for the cigar. I think if it was 15, that would be factoring into my rating a little bit more. But I'm very, very comfortable at an 8. I thought it was a really good cigar. Definitely a soft recommend for me. And yeah, very happy with that. Pagoda.
I'm at a 7. I think for me, the smoke output was great. The burn was great. The first half was excellent. There was a bit of herbal, um, I guess herbal floral creaminess. I don't know how to describe the flavor. It was really enjoyable for a bit, but I did get 2 blasts of bitter tastes, and that could have been because I think for some reason I had to relight my cigar a couple of times. So, but having said that, I did not really completely finish my cigar as well. It's a 7 for me.
All right, Bam Bam.
Yeah, I think I'm at an 8. I think that's a fair score for this. It's such a well-made cigar. It started off a little savory, and as it warmed up, as we all mentioned earlier, it got a little sweeter. So that, for me, that transition, in conjunction with that beautiful velvety smoke, it was a pretty good experience. Surprisingly good experience. 8.
It was also very mild and muted for me, just overall in terms of the overall flavor profile. Nothing very distinctive, and it's just another smoke. Yeah.
All right, boys, that puts the formal lizard rating on the Padilla, Candela, and Robusto at a 7.6, which I think is a fair score for that cigar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any one of us is running down to get a box of these.
No.
I mean, if you're given one, we would smoke one, but I don't think,
Or even at a store, when you walk into a store with multiple choices, it's very rare that I would pick this up. So, yeah.
I'd pay money to see you pick this up.
The takeaway for me tonight is the change in my perception of green cigars, from Candela cigars, from being a joke or a gimmick to something that is very, very respectable and approachable.
I was about to say that. There's something to respect about this cigar. It's such a well-made cigar.
And I think there are smokers out there who really, I understand why years past people love this kind of profile. I get it. It's very accessible. There certainly were a lot more cigar smokers in the 50s and 60s. I get that, and I also understand why people would love it. I think my father-in-law, as someone who loves mild cigars, would probably really find this interesting.
Yeah, he would like that.
I think he'd find it real interesting, and I think that there was like a mustiness to it that turned me off a little bit. That was very unique to the cigar. And for all the reasons stated, I think that's why none of us are going to be going out and reaching for it again.
But overall, a good cigar.
But I think, again, the part that resonates with me is I came into this thinking this was just a marketing gimmick, and I've come out of it thinking that there is a consumer that this product is for.
Oh, yeah.
And so anybody who appreciates a mild cigar, I think would enjoy this.
Right.
So I have to shout out Lizard Luigi, who was the listener who recommended this specific cigar for us when we mentioned a few episodes ago that we wanted to do a green cigar, a Candela cigar for St. Patrick's Day. So thanks to Lizard Luigi for, keying us into the Padilla Candela, keying me into the Padilla affair that we talked about early on.
Great recommendation.
So, again, Lizard Luigi and Lizard Sean with his voice memo tonight. This listener impact is huge, and it keeps on growing.
It's huge.
So if you're a listener out there who wants to submit a voice memo, send us an email. We say it on every episode, the tag at the end, write us an email, tell us what you're smoking or what you want us to smoke. Now you can send us a voice memo. We'll play it on air. Right. So please take that to heart and send us something.
And we want to ask the Cigar Vixen to leave a voice memo as quickly as you can.
A special one just for Ben.
I'll send her your cell phone number.
Have
Ben.
you ever had a woman listener send us any comments?
I've had listeners send us emails saying that their wives like to listen with them, even though they're not cigar smokers, because they like to hear the banter. And
I thought we had an older woman write us how she listens with her husband.
Yes, we have. Yeah,
like in her 70s.
Yep.
Mature woman. Mature.
For you, mature. For me, older.
No, it's awesome, man. We have a great community out there, and I'm hoping we get to meet a bunch of them later this week at
cool.
PCA.
It's awesome.
All right, boys, a great night. The Jameson Irish Whiskey, we had an 8.3, and the Padilla Candela in Robusto was a 7.6. And everybody say your prayers for our United flight to PCA on Thursday.
We're going to need them.
Oh, brother.
All right, boys, great night. We'll see everybody next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.